Hi, you're listening to the Titas Declassified Surthrival Guide with me, your host, Tita B. We talk about tips, tricks, and tools on how you can survive and hopefully thrive your personal and professional life. Please don't forget to follow and subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. On to today's topic! Disclaimer! Please note that all opinions expressed by me and my guests are entirely our own and does not reflect those of any organizations, groups, or companies. So do take what you hear from here with a grain of salt, as you should with anything that you listen to or watch. Back to the podcast!
Hi everyone! Welcome back to the Titas Declassified Surthrival Guide, where I share tips, tricks, and tools for you to survive and hopefully thrive in your personal or professional lives. It's been a minute, but you're still with me, Tita B. And today I want to tackle a topic that's near and dear to my heart: surthriving self-doubt. We all experience it at some point, and unfortunately, the effects may sometimes threaten our mental wellness. But I've got some strategies and tips to help you overcome these moments and build self-confidence. Now, before I continue, I want to let you know that these tips are based on my experience and they may or may not work for you. If you experience signs of depression or hopelessness or any indications that you want to self-harm, please seek support or professional help. Now, to conquer self-doubt, it's important to understand it. So what is self-doubt and why does it happen? Self-doubt refers to a lack of confidence in one's own abilities, judgment, or even worth. It's the feeling of uncertainty or skepticism about yourself, which can manifest in many aspects of your life, including personal relationships, actually any relationships, work, and decision making. Self-doubt can range from mild and occasional to severe and persistent, and it often is from negative self-perceptions or past experiences, negative experiences, or external influences. Self-doubt can have a significant impact on a person's well-being, and it can prevent their ability to pursue goals or make decisions or assert themselves in various situations. So overcoming it involves building self-confidence, practicing self-compassion. You have to be kind to yourself, and seeking support from people that you trust, like friends, family, or even professionals when needed. And there's nothing wrong with seeking professional help. And now that we know the triggers, now that we know the definition rather, we need to identify the situations or thoughts that trigger self-doubt in your life, because you need to be aware. If you're aware, you're halfway there in terms of overcoming it. Self-doubt or episodes of self-doubting can differ from person to person, but here are some common triggers and situations that I experienced may lead to self-doubt. First off, is an example of an external factor. It's criticism or negative feedback. When you receive criticism or negative feedback, whether from someone from work, let's say a supervisor or a manager, or even a friend or a family member, or even social media, like if you see someone trolling or read someone say something bad about you, it can trigger self-doubt, especially if the way it's said is not constructive or if it's delivered in a hurtful manner. So the goal is not to help you improve, it's just plainly to hurt you. It's a huge trigger because it's coming from external factors, so you cannot control it. You cannot control what people say about you. And that, of course, leads to you doubting who you are and what you can do. Next is, I would say, is an example of an external trigger, which is comparing yourself with others. If you constantly compare yourself to others, especially if you think they're more successful, they're more attractive, they're more talented, it will lead to you feeling inadequate. And that, of course, triggers self-doubt because you're questioning your worth. This is something that you can control, and you have to understand that different people have different talents and personalities. Not everyone is created the same. We're all unique. So you have to accept and understand that, right? So it's from within. And once you know that trigger, you are aware and you can start to try to prevent it from happening. Next is perfectionism, which I am quite familiar with. So it's setting unrealistically high standards for yourself and feeling that you're not going to achieve them. And sometimes you don't achieve those goals because they're unrealistic. And because you don't meet those goals or those standards, it's going to create self-doubt because you feel like you're not good enough. So goals, when set, they need to be achievable. I'm not sure if you've heard about SMART goals, but it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic. That are realistic. Do not self unrealistically high standards because you're setting yourself up for failure. But we'll talk about that. Overcoming self-doubt in a bit. I do have other triggers here that I want to share with you. Next is imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is when you feel like a fraud, or you're afraid that you'll be exposed as inadequate. Even if you have the skills, you have the qualifications, you have the experience, it's a classic trigger for self-doubt. You're questioning your abilities. So again, it's an internal example of a trigger. Next is making mistakes, which is somewhat similar to perfectionism. So when you make a mistake, for example, at work, at school, or in any aspect of life, it can trigger self-doubt if you're overly critical of yourself or you're very much aware of the errors that you make. So when you make a mistake, there's no room for you to forgive yourself, and that triggers self-doubt. Next is facing rejection. Rejection in any form is a difficult thing to experience. Rejection can come from many sources, like for example, job applications, social situations, and so forth. When you face or experience rejection, it can lead to self-doubt because it makes you question your worth. Why did I not get it? Why was I rejected? Why? And that is a huge trigger for self-doubt. Another trigger can be major life changes or significant life transitions. For example, you started a new job. Maybe you're a first-time parent. Maybe you moved somewhere. It brings self-doubt because it's uncertain. It's a new territory. You don't know what's gonna happen. So combining it with the anxiety because of the challenges that they may potentially give you, it's going to trigger your self-doubt. Plus, not getting used to that new environment. Of course, you're not going to be, let's say at work, you're not going to be the top performer. from day one. There's a possibility that you won't excel in a new job or in a new role or even in a new school, right? It's a new environment. It's possible that you're not going to be able to do the things that you were doing before. And that, if you compare that to how you were performing before, it's going to trigger thoughts of self-doubt. Negative self-talk is also an internal factor that triggers self-doubt. So continuously engaging in negative self-talk. For example, you're telling yourself you're not good enough. You're not gonna get this. You don't have this. You don't have that. It can perpetuate self-doubt. If you're the first person who's putting yourself down, definitely you will have self-doubt. Another example is past failures or traumas. Past failures or traumatic experiences, or actually any major negative experiences, can linger in your thoughts and trigger self-doubt when faced with something that is similar, sometimes even if it's not similar. If it reminds you of the negative situation that you've been in and you feel like you're going to be in the same situation again, it's going to trigger your self-doubt. And lastly, lack of support. If you don't have a support system, or if you're feeling isolated and lonely, it can contribute to self-doubt because you don't have people to reassure you and to encourage you. So combine that with all of the other triggers that I've mentioned, or even not all of those triggers, with some of those triggers, it's going to lead you to self-doubt. Now, it's important that you know these triggers. You may have different triggers than what I've said, but you have to recognize these triggers and situations or thoughts that lead you to doubt yourself in your life. Because once you know them, you've identified them, you can work on developing strategies to address and to overcome self-doubt in these particular situations. Working on your triggers for you to overcome self-doubt may involve self-compassion, building self-confidence, seeking support, and challenging negative thought patterns. You have to rewire your brain. Self-awareness is key to fighting self-doubt. Some tips that I can give you would be to reflect on your strengths. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have strengths, you have assets. List your strengths and your assets and accomplishments to boost your self-confidence. Think of what you've been through to get to where you are. Next is accept imperfection. Understand that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay for you not to be perfect. My next tip would be to do positive self-talk. I believe in the power of positive self-talk. So you replace your negative thoughts. You have to identify negative self-talk patterns and replace them with positive affirmations. You may write down your daily affirmations. You may recite them to yourself, maybe in the morning while you're reflecting. Add it to your morning routine to boost your self-esteem. My next step would be to set realistic goals. Setting and achieving realistic goals can do wonders for your self-confidence. Like what I mentioned earlier, SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic or relevant, and time-bound. You have to think of those criteria to set and track your goals, and maybe focus on one goal at a time. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge and celebrate every achievement that you get, no matter how small. It's still an achievement. I also would suggest for you to build a support system. It's important to have a strong support system. You have to have people that you trust, that you feel safe with, that you can openly share your thoughts and your feelings, and you trust that they won't take it against you or that you won't judge them. What I have learned, really, and what I've seen these past few years at work is that not everyone who smiles at you and seems to be kind or nice to you are people that you can trust. It's better to have a small set or a small group of friends that you trust, or family members that you can open up about your self-doubt struggles, because some people, they're going to use those words that you share against you. I've seen that happen, and it triggers self-doubt. It escalates the feeling of self-doubt. So open up only to trusted friends or family about your struggles, about self-doubt. Seek encouragement. Surround yourself with people who uplift you and encourage you. Remove toxic people from your life. If you are getting criticism for the sake of getting criticism without the objective of you improving, then that's just being hurtful. Not everyone gets motivated when they hear negative words. Some people get motivated with that, but a lot of people don't. So if you experience that and it's going to trigger you, and these people don't value you and they're making you doubt your self-worth, move on. It's not worth it for you to have additional mental health issues because of these people. My next tip would be self-care and stress management. Taking care of your mental and emotional well-being is crucial. In my experience, my mental and emotional well-being, when threatened, manifests in my physical health. So I would suggest establishing a self-care routine that includes activities that bring you joy and relaxation. Try to learn stress management techniques that will work for you. For example, meditation or yoga. And for some people, that doesn't work. Whatever sparks joy in your life, whatever makes you feel relaxed and comfortable, do it. As long as you don't step on others' toes, do it. My next tip would be to face challenges head on if you're strong enough to do it. But I believe in you. I believe that you're strong enough to do it. And sometimes the best way to overcome self-doubt is by confronting your challenges. Step outside of your comfort zone. Embrace new experiences that push you out of your boundaries. You don't have to do it in one huge step. Whatever works for you. You can take baby steps. Learn from failure. Understand that failing is a part of growing and learning. And we never stop learning. And sometimes while you're experiencing the failure, the hurt, the doubt, it's hard to think of the lessons that you have learned. But there is a lesson, or there are lessons. And you'll realize that once you get over the issue. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And you'll see that. And lastly, I would suggest that you seek professional help. If your self-doubt is overwhelming, it's persistent, it's making things more difficult for you, it's manifesting in other ways, like for me, in my example, it manifested in my health. Do not hesitate to seek professional help. There's nothing wrong with seeking professional help. consider going to therapy or maybe counseling. There might be deeper issues, there might be underlying causes that are triggering and causing your self doubt, and professionals can help you with that. If you know someone or know someone who knows a life coach, you might want to explore that so you can set and achieve your personal and professional goals. Praying is also therapeutic for me. If that works for you, cry out to God when you pray, share your thoughts, share what you're feeling. Do it as many times as you can. Do it as often as you can. Do it as long as you can. It's going to be better. It's going to make you feel better eventually. And you have different timelines. For some people, you may feel better sooner. For some, it may take time. But I do suggest praying. It helps. So that is a wrap on our podcast episode about Surthriving self-doubt. Remember that it's a journey. It's not a destination. And you have the power to build self-confidence and conquer self-doubt. If you found this episode helpful, please make sure to share, to follow me on Facebook, on Spotify, on TikTok, and please share it to someone who might need it. You don't know who you are helping by sharing this episode. I hope you learned something that will help you thrive your personal and professional life. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, stay confident, stay awesome, stay safe. God bless everyone.